Hello, my name is Ashtadoodle, and today we're going to talk about Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. It deviates radically from the classic Pokémon gameplay most Pokémon players get used to, but they have some of the same aspects. Every Pokémon game has similar gameplay. You begin with a starter Pokémon and you head off on your adventures, catching new Pokémon along the way. You battle other trainers, some of which are gym leaders. There are typically 8 gyms, kind of like mini bosses, for you to fight in order to get 8 badges and get to the Pokémon League, or the best of the best. There you fight 4 extremely strong trainers called the Elite Four, and once you beat them, you have a chance of becoming the next champion trainer, if you beat the current champion. In a typical Pokemon game, there is also a team that is the main antagonist. Examples are Team Rocket, Team Galactic, and Team Flare. They often have bad intentions, or their intentions are controversial, and their methods of getting there are immoral. There are bosses of each team that you fight throughout the game to give you another challenge, like the gym leaders. In the end, you defeat the team and stop their evil plans. We start off Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet as new inhabitants of the Paldea region, where we're enrolling in a new academy. Depending on the version of the game, we're either going to Naranja Academy or Uva Academy for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet respectively. Naranja is Spanish for an orange and Uva is Spanish for a grape, which correlates well with the themes of the game. The Paldea region has Spanish and Italian themes, where some people speak Spanish or Italian phrases, and the architecture is inspired by those cultures. I played Pokemon Violet, so we're going to talk about that version in this video. However, unlike other Pokemon games, you are given 3 paths to go down. Each one presents different challenges, one of them being the typical challenge of becoming champion. Your rival, Nemona, encourages you to go down this path to follow in her stead of becoming a champion-ranked trainer, which is a little different from the typical Pokemon game goal of becoming the champion. There are still 8 gyms to fight and an Elite Four and top champion for you to battle at the end. Another path is the path of legends. Early on in the game, you meet another student named Arvin, who has a suspiciously obsessive interest in a group of plants called Herba Mystica. He is the person who gives you Miraidon, who is the box legendary, or the Pokemon on the physical video game box. You find Miraidon injured and weak, and Arvin sees the connection you form with the Pokemon and hands you the ball. A little too eagerly. The famous Pokemon professor, who is Arvin's father, is also happy for you to take care of Miraidon. Arvin wants you to help him find the Herba Mystica, which are guarded by giant Pokemon called Titan Pokemon, who have fed off the Herba Mystica and gotten extremely big. You are tasked with fighting these Pokemon and picking the last of the Herba Mystica, which Arvin makes into sandwiches for both of you. Miraidon has addiction to sandwiches, as seen by your first encounter with it, so every time you make an Herba Mystica sandwich, you give it to Miraidon and it gains some more strength. The last path involves Operation Starfall, where a mysterious person named Cassiopeia implores you to take down Team Star, which is supposedly a group of bullies at the academy who force other students to join their group. Team Star has bosses as usual, but they are bound by a code that forces them to step down as bosses if they lose a Pokemon battle. Your job is to disband each Team Star squad by defeating their leader, who must give up their boss title once you do. As a student of Urva Academy, you may be wondering, how would you have the time to go down these paths? Well, after a full course load, you eventually get to the independent study portion of your classwork, the treasure hunt. There are no rules or regulations to this independent study, only that you find your greatest treasure. Now, on to the story. The Victory Road path is pretty self-explanatory. You battle gym leaders and gain badges to fight the Elite Four and the Champion. This is for your own fulfillment, to become a stronger trainer. This path gives you the motivation to catch new Pokemon and become more powerful. This is the classic Pokemon gameplay that every Pokemon player is used to. The Path of Legends allows you to help out Arvin, who turns out to have a severely wounded dog Pokemon named Mabostiff. He read that consuming all 5 Herba Mystica will heal anything that ails you. Eventually, you gather all 5 Herba Mystica, leading to the most heartwarming scene. Starfall Street is an interesting path. You discover that Team Star was founded by a bunch of bullied outcasts who formed a group to empower themselves. They gained a bad reputation when they decided to stand up to their bullies, who didn't even fight and fled the scene, then dropping out of school, making Team Star look like the bad guys. You gain sympathy for each of the leaders, who take pride in their status as a Team Star member, as they were all brought together by an anonymous big boss, who the Team Star bosses never met in person. We later find out that the big boss was Cassiopeia all along, who ends up being Penny, just another typical student. Clive assists you in your endeavors for taking down Team Star, but he's also a bit too interested in the story of how Team Star came to be. You later discover that Clive was Director Clavel all along. Shocker. He wanted to figure out how Team Star gained so much popularity and infamy. Once he realizes that it was a failure of the academies to see how much Team Star was hurting, Director Clavel sought to make things right and another heartwarming scene followed. The end of the game culminates everything you have done. You've proven yourself to Nimona that you're worthy to be her equal, and you've discovered that Cassiopeia, the hacker genius, is actually Penny. Along with Arvin, the four of you go down to the great crater of the Paldea region at Arvin's father's directions. You learn that Arvin has had a rocky childhood with his father, who was always absorbed in his work. It is revealed that the real Professor Turo died during his research, and an AI robot embedded with his memories and emotions took his place for years. Poor Arvin. You discover that the project the real Professor Turo dedicated his life to was a time machine that went to the future. Future Pokemon were leaking out of the time machine called Paradox Pokemon, who will probably end up hurting the environment of present-day Pokemon if the time machine isn't stopped. AI Turo insists that you stop the time machine, but he becomes the last obstacle for you to face, as the real Professor Turo made his AI robot the security protocol to stop the time machine from being shut down. Eventually, you defeat AI Turo and his party of futuristic Paradox Pokemon, and Arvin must say goodbye to his father once again. The whole game is about choosing what path you want to take. You get to decide what path you want to prioritize, which path you feel is the most important to complete first. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet deviate from previous Pokemon games because you can choose which order you want to do the story in. You can battle all of these gym leaders first, out of order as well, or defeat the overgrown Titan Pokemon, or disband Team Star, or a mix of all of them at once. You have the choice to do whatever you want, as unlike the old Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are fully open world. There is no path that you have to follow, no roadblocks in your way. You can even decide to do tons of terror raids and level up your Pokemon using experience candies without doing a single trainer battle, then challenge the strongest gym leader, then sweep through the rest of the story like it's nothing. It's up to you. Sure, the point could be about defeating Team Star and defeating the Titans and healing Miraidon and becoming very strong by following Victory Road, but it's also about the bonds that you make along the way. You learn how to become the very best, like no one ever was, with your friends at your side. You become a strong trainer, a healer, and a savior to those in Team Star all at once. Or you can interpret it as a game where you forcibly steal creatures from their natural habitats and command them to fight each other for money and glory while constantly making them faint and hate you, if you're a really bad Pokemon trainer. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are revolutionary compared to their predecessors. You have the choice in which narrative you want to follow. You have the choice in where you want to go and who you want to become. It was the most fun I ever had playing a main Pokemon game, and I hope this video helps you to understand why.